I'll probably take this a step back and talk a little bit. Jessica asked me to talk a little bit about open data itself, and then some specific examples of how open data has been successful throughout the country, and then a little bit about where open data is here in Charlottesville, which Kristen can certainly latch onto as well. But I know we have a variety of backgrounds in open data here, and some of you know way more than I do, and others of you it's a new term. So I wanted to start by just sharing a basic definition that the state of California has that I really like. It's very simple. When thinking about open data in government, there's two main characteristics to it. One, it's technically open. That means that the data is provided in a machine-readable format. That could be an API, as Lucas mentioned, or something as simple as a standard format like a CSV or a comma-separated value file. And this is just to allow not just humans to read the data, but also for computers to easily read and manipulate the data. The other big component of that technically open is that the sets are provided as full sets of data. So they're not necessarily like manicured or curated. They may, in terms of records, the fields in those sets may be limited if there's privacy concerns or legal reasons why they couldn't be made public. But the idea is that it's the full set of data for you to work with. The other big component of open data is that it's legally open. So there's no licensing encumbrances on this data. You don't have to ask for it. You don't have to apply for it. You don't have to ask permission to reuse it, to modify it, to remix it, to put it into an app that you're going to commercially sell. There are no licensing restrictions on that, so it's essentially legally open for you to use. I would say probably hundreds of different cities are thinking about open data and have an open data policy. Probably scores or maybe even dozens are seriously committed to it and have done some really great stuff with it. But those that are finding that it has some significant impact in their communities. It's social, political, and economic. And although it's a rather nascent movement, we're starting to get some studies to back up the benefit of open data in each of those fields that are both science-based but also anecdotal. I'll share two here. One is from one of the leaders in open data, Chicago. The Chicago Health Department came to a group kind of like this that had citizens, developers, designers, people interested in tech, and they said, we have a problem. We have this great web page that has the location of all the places to get flu shots in Chicago. We don't think anybody's using it, and we don't think the people who really need to be using it are either. And so they showed it to a bunch of technologists who were like, looked at the page and were like, oh, yeah, no kidding. Like they tried to pull it up on their phone, and it wasn't easily accessible. And so a group of them got together, and one man actually really spearheaded an effort to take all of this publicly available data on where flu shots were available, and he overlaid it onto a map. He made it mobile friendly. You could filter and search by day where things were available. You could see when they were free if you didn't have insurance. And this was so successful, and Lucas talks about one of the main challenges of civic tech is how do you sustain it? Well, this one was so successful, the city adopted it. So this is now part of the Chicago Health Department, not just some dude's website, which is pretty neat. Obviously, we talk about social, economic, and political impact. We see all of those things there, right? Social impact, obviously, there's a major health component to flu shots. Economic impact maybe is a bit more of a stretch, but healthier, we're definitely a more productive society. And definitely political benefits. This is a city going to a group of citizens, one, asking for help, two, getting it, three, seeing collaboration toward it. It was a tremendous effort that I think engendered a lot of good faith in a city that isn't in the best position with that right now. Another example comes from the city of Charlotte. And I like this one in particular because they were sitting on data for dozens of years that was tremendously valuable. And that was, they had a location-based quality of life survey. They were measuring an insane number of quality of life metrics from building conditions to health and tying location data to it. And would do a nice report in a PDF and share it, and it would be a news story, and that would be it. few years ago, they said, you know what, this data has value. We need to open this data up, and to their credit, they did. They got together and said, hey, we're going to take all of the survey data, we're going to put it out there in this format. But they also did another step. They said, well, that format's going to be great for coders and developers and people know how to use it, but we want lots of people to use it. So we're going to create a whole visualization that allows you to see this data over time and in a location-based way, so you can pull up any metric. And all of a sudden, a few years later, they're finding it's getting use among neighborhood associations, so they can learn more about their neighborhoods and trends in their neighborhoods. It's being used by nonprofits to support grant applications for their efforts. It's being used by social service programs, both nonprofit but also at the government level, to focus to sort of focus their efforts and see where need is, and also develop new programs as well. So really neat example of just open data sort of unleashing a ton of value. Lucas mentioned President Obama. That administration took open data and put it on the map. If you're interested in these type of stories or want to be inspired, I'm going to say, I think it's opportunity.gov has dozens of examples of citizen and or business-driven apps or tools that were created with open data with one purpose, and that's to increase social mobility or increase access to opportunity among all Americans. So the projects run from affordable housing to workforce development, environment, etc. Interesting gallery of projects. Charlottesville is very fertile ground for a successful open data policy. We have an educated citizenry. We have an active citizenry. We have citizenry that demands transparency, for sure. We have a budding, innovative ecosystem here. And we have a world-class data science institute at the university. I imagine many of these things were on the City Council's mind when in September they passed a resolution unanimously to support an open data policy for the city. So where that stands today, and Kristen can talk more about it, I see sort of the draft coming up, but they're doing a great job of moving in that direction. So, Kristen?
I'm not really at for presentation, but I'm happy to give a
Well,
little bit about this.
tell us where we are.
Hot off the presses, and I too will stand.